In the aftermath of the second battle for Hoover Dam, a nomadic tribe, misplaced in this ever-changing landscape, packed their tents and relinquished their home amidst the chaos of war. A tribe, barely clinging to life, having been beaten down, decimated, deceived and betrayed, march north to begin yet again. The trip is grueling, the landscape unforgiving, but hope guides this tribe like a man possessed, and through the passage of time, trial by fire, the tribe arose upon their new surroundings, the wastes of Wyoming. A man amongst them, leader, father, set his eyes upon this new land, this new start, a legacy worthy of his name, worthy of his people. It wasn't long after the Great Khan settled the Wyoming plains that news of their arrival reached old friends. In the coming weeks, an old alliance between the Khans and the followers of the apocalypse rekindled. Papa Khan, determined to see the legacy of his people realized, set the foundation for their community. No longer would their economy center around addictive chems, these poisons that rot the tribe from the inside out. No, Papa wouldn't allow it. Wouldn't allow the fearsome Khan name to be tarnished. Ever again. With help from the followers, work began immediately. All hands on deck to rebuild. In one of the endings of New Vegas, we see the Great Khans leave the Mojave behind and start a great empire in the ruins of the Northwest United States. This outcome has left many of us in the Fallout community curious as to what this empire would look like, how it would function, what implications for the world it would bring with it. In today's video, I aim to paint a picture of what it could be, using various context clues from the game, as well as parallel comparisons to the old world Mongol Empire with which the Great Khans have modeled themselves after. Now, fellow legionaries, welcome to the Wastes. Since their exodus from New California, the culture of the Great Khans has been modeled after the great Mongol Empire under the leadership of Genghis Khan. While nothing more than a cheap imitation during their time in the Mojave, a few of these cultural aspects laid the foundation for their eventual rise. First and foremost, the Great Khans are a warrior culture, taking great pride in their strength and willingness to battle. To join the Great Khans, one must first survive their initiation, a full minute-long beatdown from other Khan warriors. While not the most elegant of initiations, it serves its purpose, weeding out all who are not mentally tough enough to withstand it, and all who would quit on their fellow Khans when the going gets tough. For those who survive the initiation, they are accepted amongst the tribe with open arms, creating a camaraderie that other tribes seldom feel. This cultural foundation was refined through the use of old world texts on the Mongols, showing the people, and most importantly their leader, how to govern in the ways of their predecessors. By the time the Great Khan Empire arose, the days of raiding and pillaging and war bands were behind them, as a new system of governance allowed for their people to supersede this necessity for survival. However, the warrior culture continued as a love for battle lives in the heart of all who would call themselves Khans. While the South is in a deadlock, much of the North remained open, free, ripe for the taking. The wastes of Wyoming, perfect for this nomadic tribe. They can now hunt, fish, and eventually settle, raising farms and livestock. With help from the followers, they can easily connect to other settlements through trade, protection, and eventually governance, creating a vast empire out of the ruins of the Northwest. It's possible that their empire could span from Wyoming to Washington, even into parts of Oregon and the Dakotas, engrossing the entirety of the Northwestern territories. With the knowledge of chem manufacturing taught to them by the followers, the Great Khans would be able to establish a sufficient economic system, yet again, selling medical chems to settlements around them, instead of addictive chems like they had in the Mojave. Knowledge of economics from the Great Mongol Empire would also inform the Great Khans of other commodities to which they could build a powerful economy on. With the settlement of fertile territory, it's likely they expanded trade from medical chems to food, water, clothing, scrap, and other necessities. Something they couldn't do in the near lifeless Red Rock Canyon, with the NCR breathing down their necks. This knowledge of economics would also bring with it the knowledge behind running successful trade carts and caravans, much like those we see in the Mojave. As a nomadic tribe that primarily relied on raiding and scavenging, the knowledge of caravanning would not only be new to the tribe, but pivotal in their efforts to establish a thriving economic state. To draw a parallel, the Mongol Empire ran one of the safest, most efficient, and far-reaching trade networks the world has ever seen prior to industrialization. And its blueprint is invaluable to a budding nation, like in the case of the Great Khans. Notably, due to the sheer size of the Great Khan Empire, the use of a relay-style trade network would revolutionize post-apocalyptic mercantilism. The style of trade was used heavily by the Mongol Empire and functioned much like a relay race. Traders would pick up goods at post stations and take it to the nearest post station along the trade route, drastically reducing the risk involved in traversing long distances with valuable commodities. And should something happen to a caravan along the route, the Empire would be quick to discover and respond to it, reducing instances of missing or sacked caravans like those that litter the Mojave. With the evolution of this nomadic tribe into a fully fledged empire, the need for a formidable military force will become increasingly important to protect all of this territory. As seen with the Vault 19 powder gangers in the Mojave, the Great Khans are more than willing to accept others into their ranks, should they pass the initiation, that is. And when the tribe evolves into a mighty empire, it's assured that they would open the ranks to mass recruitment. In the inhospitable wastes, it's definite that wastelanders and tribals alike would seek to join the Great Khans, perhaps for security, perhaps for money, or perhaps to add some purpose to their dreary lives, knowing they are now part of something larger than themselves. In addition to this, it's not unlikely that the Great Khans conquered and assimilated hostile wastelanders and tribals in the area, or even marched into towns to seize their means of production for the betterment of the empire, much like the Legion had during their rise to power in the wastes of Arizona. These actions would be fitting of their old world inspiration, as this is precisely how Genghis Khan built his empire, to which the Great Khans emulate. Regardless, the Great Khans would have to build an army, not just to secure their empire from the inside, but to protect it from threats outside. With the formation of a standing military force, the initiation rites implemented by the Great Khans would likely evolve from a simple 1-minute beatdown that an initiate must survive, to a full-on cultural and combat-focused initiation rite, much like a boot camp, where an initiate learns a lifestyle of the Great Khans to effectively mold into their society. This pressure testing would continue to serve its purpose, to weed out those unworthy of calling themselves Khans. Economics, governance, transportation, all foundational pillars that led the Great Khans to the formation of an empire. Their predecessors are famous for their use of horses and extensive trade networks across their territory, being a driving force in the strengthening and reestablishment of the famous Silk Road trade network that connected Asia and Europe. In the move to Wyoming, it's possible that the Great Khans may have encountered horses in the north and sought to domesticate them. The pre-war book, Pretty Horsies, providing information on the domestication practices and care of these animals. With the domestication of horses, the Great Khans would be able to travel the vast distances of their territory with ease and build their trade network on the backs of these beasts. Assuming that horses aren't extinct, that is. Another mode of transportation could involve the use of motorcycles, which are found in abundance in the wasteland. In the beginning, the Mongols' biker gang was a primary inspiration for the Khan faction back in California, and this would be a nice little nod to their origin. As for a means of transportation, motorcycles are a quick and agile vehicle that would allow the Great Khans to cover vast distances in little time, and would be a much better option than the use of horses. The only caveat involves the knowledge on how to repair and maintain these vehicles. If the highwaymen used by the Chosen One taught us anything, it's that vehicles can still run in the wasteland. All it takes is a good mechanic to resurrect them. While the Great Khan Empire rises in the north, they must keep eyes on their past, lest they forget their history. The NCR, Caesar's Legion, two expansionist superpowers who would tread on all who stand in their way. If either of these factions claim the Mojave, it'll only be a matter of time before their borders push north. The ensuing clash would test Papa's new empire, test his soldiers, and their resolve. Depending on the outcome of the Mojave, depends on whether this new empire will thrive or crumble. Dealings with NCR, arbitrary. Vegas, lucrative. Legion, deadly. In time, Legionary, in time. Until then, there are more mysteries to be uncovered in the Mojave. Thank you so much for watching this speculative deep dive into a potential future for one of the most criminally underdeveloped and underrated factions seen in New Vegas. I hope you found some of my points thought-provoking enough to leave me a comment and a like. If you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing so you can be amongst the chosen to be notified as soon as I release a new video. Until then, voile, amicus.